Hey guys, not sipping an ice cap today because I'm a little bit under the weather. But I wanted to get this video out to you guys as fast as possible because I just saw The Chosen Season 4, episodes 1 to 3 in theaters, and I have thoughts. But before we get into that, my name is Daniel. I make a lot of videos like these, so if you want to see more, click down there. And I'm giving you a spoiler alert right now, because even if you've read the Bible, even if you know the general story, there are things that happen that aren't necessarily in the Bible that are going to be very surprising to you. So if you don't care about that, like me, I don't really care about spoilers, then keep watching. Now, firstly, I just want to start out with saying that The Chosen is probably the most important television show that is being made today, maybe ever. Because if you haven't seen this show, it's completely funded by viewers. It's outside of Hollywood studio, and it's being made about the disciples of Jesus during the time of his ministry and maybe a little bit after, probably. And especially when every single TV show made nowadays has like some aspect of perversion, like some influence of wokeness. To have a show that doesn't really have any of that in here is like, that's already gonna be my favorite show. But it's also about something that's eternally meaningful. So no matter what I say negatively about the show or how season 4 is going, you should still see it. You should still give it a try. If it's not your thing, go back to watching Glee or whatever. The show hasn't been on for years. I don't know why I said that. But season 4 started out really strong with depicting the death of John the Baptist. Like, you kind of get scenes of Herod's niece, I believe, practicing her dance and getting the steps right to her actual performance, which was really cool. I was like getting kind of nervous about it because I'm like, how do you show like a girl dancing for a guy and have it not be like kind of sus? Which I don't know if it would have been sus, but it would be hard to imagine it not being like a little sexually tinged. But they did a great job at riding that line very well, at least I think. And even the scenes of John when Joanna was trying to warn John about what was about to happen to him, John was comforting her and himself by kind of reciting back the message that Jesus had sent to him through his followers, that the blind see, the deaf hear, the lame walk, the good news is preached to the poor. And I just thought that was so powerful because you could tell like he kind of knows what's going to happen now, but he's still keeping that bigger picture in mind. Like, he's still remembering his purpose and why he was there. And The Chosen even shows like Elizabeth being pregnant with him, and that was really cool to see, and it actually made you feel John's execution a lot more. But even right before he was getting executed, seeing that vision outside the window of the Lamb, or Jesus, and just having that moment of peace was just beautiful. And another thing I did not expect The Chosen to circle back to was Peter and Matthew's story. So Matthew used to be Simon's tax collector. Then Jesus called him, and then Simon had this blowout moment with Matthew in season 2 around a campfire where he says he'll basically never forgive Matthew for what he did. But after that, things between Peter and Matthew seem to kind of simmer down. Doesn't seem like Peter's as angry. But then when Jesus changes Simon's name to Peter, and then Jesus basically calls him the rock that he's gonna build his church upon, that kind of rubs Matthew and the rest of the disciples the wrong way, which I'll talk about more later. But Matthew has this amazingly real conversation with Jesus where he was like, Jesus, it kind of hurt that you put this guy in charge when he's been so mean to me. Like, Jesus said that, yeah, well, Peter has definitely acted in a way that didn't make me happy, didn't make my father happy, but you know, what did you do to him? And I just wish he kind of went into like authority, and how just because someone is put in authority over you doesn't necessarily mean God thinks more of them than he does of you. It's just some people have different purposes and calling, and if anything, God doesn't always call the most qualified people to do certain jobs. But he didn't really go into that. He was just kind of like, yeah, but like, what did you do to him? And I'm like, like, to me that wasn't very satisfying, but it did finally make Matthew go, oh wait, maybe I should apologize for all the stuff that I put Peter through. So then he actually apologizes to Peter, and then Peter takes a day to think about it and even talk to Jesus about it afterwards. And then Jesus tells him to forgive him 7 times, 70 times. And of course, they make like a literal math joke out of it, like many pastors before. But then the episode ends on Peter walking up to Matthew, and it's shot very dramatically, but Peter just hugs him, and it's this really good releasing moment. Super good end to the episode. So at this point, season 4 is going really strong, but now I'm gonna get to the parts that I didn't love so much. So Thomas and Rama, if you've been watching up to this point, they got cute little crushes on each other, and they're both so cute. Love it. So cute. And then basically they're talking about getting married and how that's gonna work because they don't have her father's permission. So they kind of figure out a way outside of the normal way to get married to somehow still get married within Jewish law. So they figure it out. They actually ask Jesus if he could act as Rama's father in the marriage, and he says yes to eventually. So it's all set, it's all great, but then I was enjoying my whole time. Up until this stupid moment. But basically episode 3 ends with Jesus getting into an argument with the Pharisees, and then the Romans get involved and a bunch of things happen. Then basically Quintus ends up stabbing Rama and she died. So I told you, spoiler alert. But yeah, one of my favorite parts of the show dies. But that's actually not the problem, because people die on shows all the time. It's like what they're supposed to do. If you're on a TV show, you're supposed to die, you know? But my biggest issue is when Jesus came and saw Rama dead and Thomas asked him to resurrect her. He was basically like, nah, sorry, man. And up to this point, in my estimation, The Chosen has made 2 huge Jesus theology mistakes. First one is season 2, when Jesus is talking to Quintus, and I want to just use footage from the show to show you this because it'll be a whole lot easier, but I'm just not sure how that all works with copyright stuff. But here's a picture of the conversation. But basically the issue comes when Quintus says, hey Jesus, don't make me kill you. And then Jesus was like, oh well, I won't make you do anything, but my father on the other hand. And like it's meant to be like this like haha joke, like in the way it's delivered, but that's like really stupid bad theology. Like the insinuation is God the Father made people kill and torture his son, and in James 2 it specifically says God doesn't tempt people with evil, let alone make them do it. So to say that God the Father made people beat up his son, like what a horrible image it paints of God the Father. But the creators of the show come from a more kind of Calvinist, deterministic specifically perspective, where God makes everything happen, including the good, including the evil, but somehow he's just not blameworthy, which doesn't make any sense. How could you punish the evil you determine? It's totally dumb. And it paints this duplicitous idea of God where God will tell you he doesn't want you to do this, but he'll secretly make you do this, then he'll send you to hell for it. You know, it's basically the God every atheist believes in. Like when they say I can never believe in a God that ... They're talking about this version of God that's like actually evil, but biblically that is absolutely not who he is. God could ordain events like the crucifixion without making people commit evil. So saying that, oh, my father will make you hurt me is wrong, and it paints a horrible idea of God the Father. Like so many Christians think that God the Father is the mean, angry one, but then Jesus steps in and be like, no, be nice to them. I'll take your beatings. I'll get whooped so you don't whoop them. Like totally forgetting that the Father and the Son are in one heart and they both love the world. But for a long time, I remember I just thought, man, I'm scared of God the Father, but Jesus actually loves me. And then that conversation with Jesus and Quintus just kind of affirms that view, and it's wrong. Now, the second thing that I think that The Chosen has gotten wrong, and this one definitely made me the most angry, is when little James asked Jesus, hey, can you heal me? Because I have some sort of paralysis that's described on the show. I know the actor in real life has something similar. I think it's cerebral palsy, but I'm not sure. But basically Jesus says, you know, like, I could heal you now, and eventually you will be healed, but basically it's gonna make me look really good if you're out there healing people and you still love me, yet you haven't received healing. So I'm just gonna keep you in this state, even though I have full power to heal you. It's gonna make me look really good. And don't worry, eventually you will be healed, just like in heaven. And let me tell you right now, there is 0 times in the Bible where Jesus says no to healing someone, let alone his own disciple. And every time Jesus heals someone, he says Jesus was moved by compassion and so he healed them. But he didn't have enough compassion left over for his own disciple. In fact, Jesus actually gave powers to all the disciples at this time to go out 2 by 2 into the surrounding areas to heal people, to cast out demons. So if you think about it, little James would have been better off asking one of his buddies to heal him. Maybe they would have had more compassion than this Jesus does. And if you look at the comments section for this scene, like, a lot of people actually have like a pretty good impression of this scene. Like, this encouraged me so much to know that I'm still worth something even though I'm not healed yet, or I'm still sick, and that's all good. But there are comments saying this is super discouraging because this makes me feel like God doesn't actually want to heal me and he's just keeping me sick to make him look good, and it's robbing people of the faith that they need in order to be healed. So many times in scripture, when Jesus heals someone, Jesus says, your faith has healed you, or Jesus marveled at their faith, so he healed them. And so when Rama gets stabbed, but then Thomas has the faith to ask Jesus, hey, you can resurrect her, and he's just like, nah, I haven't unlocked resurrection yet, that's for Lazarus later, sorry, hands are tied, can't do it. Like, I'm fine with The Chosen like adding certain storylines, like a lot of people have this a huge issue with it, but I don't think it's really a problem as long as you don't pervert the image of God. As long as you're not adding storylines to put your own kind of idea of what healing is on earth. And I think the motivation for saying that, oh, I can't heal you right now, but you will get healed later, and you know, you being sick now, it's for my glory. I think the creator Dallas Jenkins actually has a daughter who has Asperger's or autism. The scene just kind of reminded me of like a collection of things that people who struggle with sickness tell themselves, or their family tells them, to make sense of why this person is sick, why they haven't been healed. And saying those things might make the person feel better or might not. But whatever you say, it has to be biblical. None of it is. It says, by his stripes we are healed. And some people want to say, oh, well, that's only talking about, no, spiritual healing. But Matthew 7 actually uses that in the context of physical healing as Jesus heals people. So either Matthew is an eisegete and he's getting that verse wrong, and it's really not about physical healing at all, or it is, and The Chosen just got this totally wrong. It says that Jesus healed all who were sick and oppressed by the devil, not some who he picked and chose. Oh, it'll make me look good to keep you sick. Oh, it'll make me look good to heal you. Like, he didn't do any of that. He was moved by compassion. He didn't want them to be sick. And I will say that, you know, Rama getting stabbed may be a little more of a gray area compared to Jesus not healing little James, because like Jesus did let John the Baptist die, but also he wasn't there. And any person who had just died, who Jesus was around, like, he ruined the funeral. Like, Jesus resurrected Jairus' daughter in the last season. There's also a story which they haven't covered, which they were carrying a woman as part of a funeral procession, but then Jesus raised her and ruined the funeral. Great story. I wonder if they'll talk about that. And then I wonder how Thomas will react, because I get that they're trying to set up doubting Thomas, but you can do that in a biblical way, not an unbiblical way like this is. And I read somewhere that the actor as Rama actually wanted to exit the show for some reason, so then they wrote this so that could happen and have it be explained. But man, there are so many other ways to do that. So season 4 was going so well, and then that last 5 minutes just screwed up the whole thing for me. So if you're watching this and you love The Chosen, I still really like The Chosen. I'm still probably gonna finish the season, but just know, especially if you're struggling with sickness right now, healing is absolutely God's will. It is not his will that you're struggling with sickness. It's not so you can make him look good. And yes, people and Christians still die from sickness every day, but we can't blame God for that. So yeah, those were my thoughts on The Chosen season 4 episodes 1 through 3. If there was anything else in the episodes that you liked or you didn't like, let me know in the comments section, and I'll be back with another video very soon. So hit that subscribe button and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.